Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Talk Show. This podcast is dedicated to a growth mindset. You see, I believe that I know something that you don't know, and I also believe that you know something that I don't know. And the only way for each of us to both rise in our knowings is to sit in a room and share all the things. For those of you that are new to this show and love inspirational content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question. What do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
And thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Talk Show. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. If you are watching us live, welcome. If you're watching us on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love. If you're watching this video, share it. We would really appreciate it so we can get more eyes and more ears on the awesome content that we share on this show. We are here to inspire you and having you think outside the box in no time. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman. She is recognized internationally as the pioneer of the soul professional movement. She is a speaker, a seasoned executive business strategist, author, podcaster, and PSYCH-K facilitator. She is also the founder and chief visionary of the Natural Life Business Partnership, a global professional organization and business incubator for soul-aligned entrepreneurs who are ready to awaken their financial and spiritual potential. Yes! She has worked as an alternative business engineer, helps entrepreneurs dovetail who they are with what they do. Her mission is to guide and support individuals to align their soul with their work, ultimately achieving purpose beyond profit. Welcome, Camille Miller.
The crowd goes wild. Thank you, Sabrina, for having me today.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on. You know, I so appreciate women that just understand the mission of podcasts like this and how important it is to check in with our audience, check in with our community, share some of the awesomeness, you know, some of the brilliance that we have stowed inside our head to really help us take a step forward, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. So we're talking about an awesome subject today, which I'm super excited about. So many women within Her Nation are entrepreneurs or are thinking about getting into business or kind of, you know, flying off of the cliff out of corporate America and starting their own. And it is scary because you feel like this whole work-life balance thing isn't really going to work. And how are we going to do it? And you want to talk about, you know, how to love your life and do a business.
Yeah.
So share with us, what's the thing? What are we talking about today? What do you know?
Yeah, I don't know if there's one thing, but I do know when you are authentic, when you are who you are, both in business and life, that's real balance. I don't think there's ever a 50-50 balance between work and life. I think the trick is actually dovetailing who you are with what you do. It should be a part of your everyday. So I don't feel like I turn off work, or I can take away. I could travel. I could take time. I could take weekends. I can turn off my office. So for me, that's turning off my email, turning off my cell phone, you know, not responding in that way. But it doesn't change who I am. I'm not stepping into a different persona when I'm working. I am who I am all the time. And I think when I was in that corporate world, I was playing the role of a professional. I was being something that I should be based on other people's perceptions. And now I live a life of truth and authenticity, and I just am who I am. And I make no excuses for it. This is who I am, and it's okay. And I can make money doing exactly what I'm doing. And and doing it on my own terms and just being who I am on my own terms. And I think that's a really important thing. And I think it's the way life is going. I think it's the future of entrepreneurship, which I do speak on all the time. There is this new paradigm happening that we've seen, especially since the pandemic. Is probably happening before that, but the pandemic made us go, wow, there's things in life I'm missing, and I'm not willing to do that anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really think that people can relate to that. I love how you worded that as far as playing the role.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we do, right? We all have this idea of what a professional should be, right? What should I be doing? What does society think? What should I wear? How should I act? What does that look like? Right. And a lot of times it's based in a masculine role. Right. In the 80s, when I grew up, like women were wearing suits to look like men, to act like men, because that was what we thought a professional should be. Now, many decades later, we have this new idea of what a professional should be, but I think it still needs some work. I'm not less professional because I'm very spiritual. And that's part of the soul professional movement, is really dovetailing all of that. I'm not less because I believe something different or do things differently. I just happen to live in a higher vibration and have an alternative approach to work. But I'm still here to help repair the world, right? In my own way. That's what I feel is important, my mission, what I want to accomplish, and it doesn't make me less professional.
Yeah. I want to talk for a moment about this work-life balance. I'm so excited that you brought this up, because I think that this is one of the biggest myths within society in general. Is there's supposed to be this equality among like all the things we're supposed to be doing as a human.
Yeah.
And the balance of that. And you think of like a teeter-totter, it's supposed to be exactly like this at all times. Can you give us some insight on what your thought, because it seems like it's different than that, what your thoughts are on that?
So I heard Oprah Winfrey say decades ago, I was young, I was in my 20s, and I remember her saying, you can have it all, you just can't have it all at once.
Ooh.
And that has stuck with me since my 20s, because I can be all things, but I can't be all things all the time. Right? Sometimes I'm a mother, sometimes I'm a daughter, sometimes I'm a leader, sometimes I'm a mentor, sometimes I'm a student. Right? I can't be all things at all times. So if you take it for the moment and enjoy where you are in that moment, and you are being who you are in that moment, you don't have to be all of these other things. Right?
Yes.
You are, but appreciate where you are, honor that moment, that present moment of where you are. And I think that's the most important. And balance isn't really about, how you do it, right? I don't equally spend as much time with all of my kids that I do at work or on self-care, right? It's not a 50-50 either, right? You could take that wheel of life and put it in 5 different categories, right? It could be self-care. It could be my role as a mom. It could be my role as a leader. It could be, I don't know, my role as a friend. There's all these different categories, and they don't all run at the same percentage. They're all not, if there's 5 categories, what is it, 20%, right? They're not all 20%. Sometimes you're light on one, but another month it might be heavy on the other. So, and sometimes it's never all balanced. Like, I'm happy if I get 5% in this category, right? Or 30% in this category. Right now, I'm very dedicated to a goal in my work. So I know this year I made the commitment to be a little heavy in that and give up some other things so I can do that. But it's a choice, right? Yeah. So I think it's really about just honoring where you are and being okay with it. You're not giving, a lot of times people think of the balance as giving up something. You're not giving up. Right? That's if you're looking at it as giving it up, that's your own issue. You're not giving it up. It's not a big sacrifice. You're doing what you need to do to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what it takes most times.
Yeah.
But it's not really, if you look at it as a sacrifice, something you're doing, But turn it around and say, I get to do this. I get to be on this journey, whatever that is for our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. The I get to versus I have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or that you're sacrificing something. I think it's, it's not really a bad thing to give up if it's getting you to where you go, where
Yeah.
you're going. It's not a bad thing. I know as humans, we love to be rewarded. We gamify things. That's just who we are as people. And
Yeah.
that's for all of us. We like immediate reward. We have a hard time with long-term, gains. But if you can gamify something that's short, that's fine too. It doesn't always have immediate rewards, but that's the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is it's a long game. And it doesn't always go in your favor. It's
Yeah.
a long game though. You can't jump into entrepreneurship and be like, look, I got flexible hours, I can do this, I can take off time. You can, but you will not be where you need to be. You will
Yeah.
not be making the money that quickly that you get to afford that lifestyle. You have
Yeah.
to put in the work to afford that lifestyle.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
And I think it also depends on where you are in your life
of
also.
course.
There are,
Other
you
support
know,
systems.
yeah.
There's a whole, and it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
And you have to honor whatever your journey is.
Absolutely. I
Mm.
agree. So as far as women listening live right now who are, just getting into business or thinking about taking the leap into working for themselves and the nervousness around that, a lot of times I think what it causes the halt is not knowing the steps. Like, what's the first thing that I should be doing? What's the first step that I should be taking towards making sure that when I make this leap, I'm still loving my life? It's not total chaos. It's not a
Yeah.
complete disaster. So, what are some things you can share with us? Some steps that you can share with us as far as what that would look like, if for women who are in business or going into business, and how to continue to sustain, a life that you love. What are a few things that you can give us?
I think the very first thing I tell everyone to do is to make an assessment of what you like and what you don't like, what you want it to look like and what you absolutely do not want it to look like, right? So as I created a new job for myself and the business I'm in now, I literally took a piece of paper and 2 columns and I wrote, this is really what I want it to look like. I wanted it to be virtual. I want to be able to travel all around the world and still do my business. I know that I work really well in groups. I love community more than I like being in a silo. Um, so I don't do a lot of one-on-one work. I do a lot of group work. I like having advisory boards, but my background was not-for-profit management. I hate boards that didn't make good decisions. They based it on their heart, not actual concrete facts most of the time, right? So I still have a board, but it's more of an advisory board, right? So I put in there what I liked and what I didn't like, right? I do business a little differently than other people or what I was taught in business school. I don't love social media. So for the first 8 years, we didn't really even have any social media. We built a business without it, based on word of mouth. I don't love networking, but I love building relationships. So I don't show up at networking events. I build relationships that are long lasting with people. But I had to know a lot about me. I'm an introvert and I'm okay with that. So how do I work in a business and build a business that's who I am? It's about being authentic. Um, I like teaching. I don't like presenting. So I do a lot of interviews. I'll do interactive classes, but I rarely am on a stage just presenting for an hour, right? Doing keynotes. Can I do them? Yeah, but I love the interactiveness. So when you know who you are as a person and what you like doing, that's the easiest part. So the first step would be make that assessment. If you don't want to work, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that has to be in your assessment This is, I'm not giving this part up. Right. So that would be the first thing. And knowing your skill set, know what you're good at, and know the combination of those things that you're trained in and that you're good at. And what can you do that others can't do? Because when you can niche down to that, a lot of people go too wide, too broad. They try to help everybody. And that's not, you can't help everybody. So just knowing that whatever your background is, how is it different than everybody else? How are you special? What is your one thing that you can capitalize on? And it feels very natural and good. Like, I love leading, I love teaching, I love mentoring. So I built an entire business around it. I love strategizing and building businesses. I hate running businesses. So I built a position for myself where I help people strategize new businesses all day long. That's what I do. People can call me if they're members in my community, and we can strategize and we can get you where you need to go. But I'm not running the business. That's perfect for me. I love that. I love the strategy. So I created something that was around who I am. And I think that's the best thing for everyone. So many people try to follow others, or like, look at this person, they're doing so well, and this is the way they're doing it. Well, that's great. That works for them. There is no 10-step program that works for everyone. There's every single person has their own journey. There are secrets to success. There's things that you can follow, best practices, but all of those best practices don't work for all of the people in all of the businesses. So you really have to know what you like, what you don't like, and what are your non-negotiables.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel as if when people start to, or when they think of a business, they do think more masculine. It has to run, there's structure, there's organization, there's money. And you have this thing of aligning soulfully.
Yeah.
And that sounds more feminine.
Yeah. So it does take both. Right? You cannot run a business all in your feminine, right? And you're not going to be happy all in your masculine. I don't care who you are, right? It takes a balance of both of those energies for your success, because it takes someone who's assertive in certain situations, right? But it takes also someone who's very nurturing to keep those clients attracting. There's a difference between fear-based marketing and client attraction, right? And building those relationships versus, poking someone with a business card all the time. And I can't stand going to networking groups that people just want to sell to you all the time, sell to me. And they size you up really quickly. Like, you're not my person. I'm just going to go try to sell to the next person, right? I don't show up in situations like that because that's not who I am. It's not how it serves me. But you can decide who you are and how it works for you, but it takes both the numbers, the organization, the strategizing. That's more male energy, masculine energy. And it's important. We all have both. So it's not one or the other. If you're too much in your feminine, you probably aren't going to make a heck of a lot of money if you can't manage it. If you can't organize, you can't strategize, you can't lead, that's masculine energy, right? But the feminine energy is the nurturing, the relationships. I think a lot of leadership power comes from your feminine energy. Some types of organization comes from your, building community and people around you. That's all feminine energy. But so it takes both, depending on what you want to do. It takes both, and you have to honor how much of that, I used to have a very controlling energy too. It was very hard for me to step back and trust the process a little bit.
Ooh.
And not try to control the outcomes to every conversation, to really just trust that I'm building something beautiful and I will attract the right people if I'm the right person, because who you attract is you in the mirror.
Yeah. When did you have this turning point?
Well, obviously it's been, I grow every year. Yeah. You know, I think the biggest growth was probably in the last 2 years, when I really started to scale my business and kind of take it to the next level. Because the organization that I run, we've been around for 8 years. It's a business incubator, but I had to look at what am I creating? Who am I attracting? And I had to grow, right? When I was young in my business and playing small, that's who I attracted, right? As I grew and said, you know what? And it was about 2 years ago where I went, I'm going big. This is going global. I wanted to be at a much bigger scale, and I wanted to bring together entrepreneurs that are working in global environments, because that's the future of entrepreneurship, right? And I had to play big to do that, and I had to come out of my own shadow, because as an introvert, I like to be in the back behind people, pushing them, and I had to really become the leader in the face of the company. And in doing that, I had to do a lot of inner work. And I do believe it takes a lot of inner work to create your outer success. Because if you don't know you and you can't deal with all those blocks and issues in your own head, you can't grow, because you're attracting people with those same issues, right? It's who you hang around with. Success is built by the people around you, not just yourself. And especially as an entrepreneur, you have to surround yourself with success all the time. You have to surround yourself with people that are greater than you. And you have to acknowledge that in yourself and see, well, I have a tough time with that. One of my big ones was asking for help. I had to break through being able to ask for help and to receive help, which was also really hard, because that was part of my masculine pushing it away. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I know how, right? And being able to say, okay, I need help. I'm a little stuck. I don't know how to grow it this way. I don't have experience in this way. Asking for help, I think, is more in your feminine as well. So I had to soften and be able to do that.
Yeah. How does somebody stay in alignment? Like what we were saying with the whole back and forth and the balance, this cognitive dissonance of we're supposed to be over here. How does someone stay in alignment?
So I think it's really just checking in on yourself. There are times where I skew and I'm like, okay, let's take a step back, because I feel like I'm pushing too hard, or I need something to happen, or I'm looking at the numbers and coming from a place of lack and a place of scarcity instead of a place of empowerment, knowing that I'm standing in my power versus I'm coming from a place of lack. I need money. I need money. I need money. And a lot of people build businesses and programs and ideas based from lack. Like, if I just do this, I'll make money. Instead of this is what my community needs, or this is what the world needs, and I'll figure out the money, right? When you produce from that way, that's how you grow. But staying in alignment is really just checking in. Yesterday, I had one of those days where I was just like, okay, I'm not mentally where I need to be. And I just knew, just do what you need to do and take a step back. Like, don't sit here and try to push through, because that is not what you need to do right now. You need to give yourself grace. You need to step back, maybe go read a book, study something else. Don't sit there and say, I'm not enough. I think a lot of times we try to push through, and that's when you're not in alignment. If you're pushing through, if you're exhausted, if you're fed up, if you're feeling anxiety and anxious and staying up at night, you are not in alignment at all. Yeah. If you're not feeling like this is easy, this is great, this is flow, this feels good, I love having conversations, I love the way this momentum is going for me, and you're not appreciating every little thing, because as an entrepreneur, it's small baby steps, but they're consistent. Right? Small baby steps, they're consistent. They're checking in. Does this feel good? Does this feel right for me? If you're doing things and they don't feel good, your body knows it right away, right? Mm-hmm. If you're tired, if you have headaches, if you have backaches, if, your body represents your subconscious mind. So if things aren't in alignment, the trick is to check in, right? And then try to self-correct. Yeah. But to give yourself grace.
Yeah.
So many times we push. I see lots of people getting themselves into debt, which is okay. I think it's part of growth. Sometimes we have to go through debt, as long as it's smart debt. And then they live in this place of guilt or this place of, I made this huge mistake, and they're not giving themselves grace. You have to first give yourself permission to move forward and look at it as like, okay, every time I pay off this loan, I'm looking at it as gratefulness. Like, I'm so grateful I have the money to make this payment. I'm so grateful that I'm coming out of debt. I'm so grateful that, I'm in this momentum. I've learned the lesson I need to learn and move on. So many times we stay in that guilt and we're so harsh on ourselves that we have to push that forward, and that's part of the inner work. But it's hard. As an entrepreneur, it is hard. Because, and especially if you're not surrounded by other entrepreneurs who totally get who you are, and are encouraging you to keep going and are picking you up on those rough days. It's like riding a roller coaster. There's high highs and there's low lows, and it's at every level. I had it when I started, and I have it now. Even to many, I'm a success, but you still have days like that where you just got to call someone else up and be like, okay, talk me out of this.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. Part of it.
Yeah. And part of the reason why it's so important to have a community of other entrepreneurs around you.
Yeah. And a support system. So if you're hanging out with even a lot of friends or family or spouses that are not entrepreneurs, they are not your support system.
Exactly.
They don't understand you. They don't understand what you're going through. And they're always like, go get a job, go do something else. They can't support you in the way you need to be supported.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely agree with that. I want to pull a comment here from Shannon Centers, if you want to read this out loud.
Appreciate that. Checking in and noticing what your adjustments need to be made, definitely with grace and ease and space. Yeah. Thank you, Shannon. Absolutely. Yeah.
What do you think are some either limiting beliefs that you yourself had to pivot out of, or maybe limiting beliefs that you are seeing other women needing to adjust or pivot out of? What's the biggest thing as far as starting to pivot towards a life you love?
Yeah. So there's two. One I still suffer from, and I'm very, very aware and watch for it, is called imposter syndrome. When you feel that you are not deserving of where you are, or leadership or money or whatever that looks like. And it shows up again. Like I break through it, it shows up again. I break through it. I always say, I don't know if it's sticky floors or glass ceilings, but I'm hitting it again. Right. Imposter syndrome shows up in so many of us because, like, who am I to do this? Who am I to call myself a coach? Who am I to call myself a leader? Who am I to create a company? So imposter syndrome comes up a lot, especially in women, and money blocks, and I find it a lot in spiritual people or people that are doing service for others, that's saying, like, I just want to make it affordable for everybody, just because I have this gift, like, I want to share my gift. I don't want to make people pay for my gift. And that's a money block. That's, you are not deserving of, like, I don't want to raise my prices so everyone can afford me. Well, if everyone can afford you, no one will. It's that kind of, you're better off just having a few really high ends. We went from a low end community to a high end community for a reason, because we felt that more people invested in themselves, and when they invested in themselves, they gave back to others. Right. And it created a nicer community. It is a little expensive for some people, but you get so much out of it by hanging around people that are investing in themselves that way.
Absolutely.
So there's a connection there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shannon says, I agree with both the imposter syndrome and money blocks, still diffusing and working through those myself.
Yeah, I am as well. And you will at every single level. You think you get through them until you hit that ceiling again. Yeah. Like, I was deserving up to 100,000, and then I was deserving up to about 350,000. And it's like, when you start to hit like that million, you'll get another, there's a block about 350, and there's a block right before $1 million. And there's blocks all along the way, because like, I thought I could get to this one, but I don't know if I can get past it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like making $5,000 months and then making $10,000 months, right? And then once you get to $10,000 months, you're like, oh, let me get to 25. And then you get to 25 and you're like, can I get to 50? You know, but there's a point in your head where you're going, no, I could never get here.
Yeah.
Right. And those are those blocks that we keep hitting.
Yeah.
And everyone has them.
Yeah.
Everyone has them. It's just a matter of saying, you know, yes, I am worthy and people are paying for it. So why am I blocking my own success? And many times when you look back, and it's happened to me, I blocked my own success, you know?
Yeah. Melinda, ageism. Ooh, ageism. Thinking age is a barrier. Imposter. Medical challenges, looking for plan B so dreams stay alive.
Yeah. I think I still work with this myself, right? Because I remember when I was going for my doctorate, I went back in my 40s, like my late, I think I was 48, right? And I was like, this is ridiculous. What am I going to do? And I remember my husband at the time just going, you're so old. Like, why would you get another degree now? Like, are you going to make more money? I was like, well, it really wasn't about that. Like, this is just where I want to be right now.
Wow.
But you know, and now I'm 55 and I'm always like, I always wanted to travel. And I think one of the biggest things we do is we're waiting for perfection, or we're waiting for this time in our life.
Yeah.
Like, I'll wait for the kids to grow up. I'll wait for me to hit my first million. I'll wait for retirement. I'll wait for, and it's always in the future that you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. And all of a sudden that time is here in front of us and we haven't done it. So like one of the things I was always like, I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to travel the world. Well, I just started. I literally just started. I just got a map and I take things off and I'm planning my trips because I'm like, what am I waiting for?
Yeah.
Like, I'm old now. Let's just keep going. But I think ageism is also when you think of, especially women, you know, they had careers, starting careers at 50, at 60, at 70, you know, that are starting brand new businesses because they waited for their kids to grow up. So I think as women, once you even hit your 50s, you're at the very beginning of what you can create in life. Like, it's usually after you've had families. This is where I'm seeing all of these women just blossom and blossom and blossom.
Yeah.
Because we can now.
Yeah.
You know, it's a much different way of growing
Yeah.
up. I didn't have a mother that worked. So it's a very, very different way of growing up. But, you know, 50, 60, 70, that's still young today. People are doing so much. You still have your whole life ahead of you. And it's really your own belief system. If you think you're getting old, you're getting old. You know, if you think you're unhealthy, you're unhealthy, you know, because you're creating that. It's your reality. You're creating it. So if you keep telling yourself, hey, I'm young, I'm beautiful, I'm lively, I can do all of this, I can do all the things I did when I'm 20, you probably can.
Yes.
Because you're creating it.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. And I totally agree. You know, I think that we do. We tend to put these barriers up and then not break them down. You know, so the barriers are there, but we have to climb over, break through, whatever you have to do in order to make sure. I think you have to break through, right, for the learning versus crawl over.
Yeah. But you know what? However you have to get through it is just fine. It's just fine.
I was listening to one of the female speakers in my organization. She was on a virtual stage last night in our Empower Hour, and she said, "You have to get the learnings in the valley. If you don't get the learning in the valley, then you'll fall into another valley." So you have to every single time you got to get the learning before you start to crawl back out. Because if you don't get it before you start crawling, you're just going to fall right back in.
Fall back in. That's interesting.
Yeah, that like hit me. I was like, oh, I feel that one. That feels good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with this. Listen, so thank you for being here and hanging out with us. For those watching live and for those of you commenting, also thank you so much for all of that. We so appreciate the energy that goes into that. If you're watching on the replay, like I said, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love. But I want to ask Camille, as we start to close up here, you know, obviously there's people here, they're listening live, they're resonating with what you're saying, they're really appreciating all the insight. What exactly is your business? Who do you help? Who should be reaching out to you?
Yeah, so I run the Natural Life Business Partnership, which is a global professional organization for soul-aligned entrepreneurs. And we really help Those that live in a higher vibration, have an alternative approach to business, and are here to help repair the world. It doesn't matter what you do, or industry and gender agnostic, but it's a community bringing people together so we can all build wealth and reach our financial and spiritual potential and dovetail these lives and really bring our gifts to the world. And I run a professional community. You can learn more at soulprofessional.com. And just learn about who we are. We have a free membership, and then there's paid memberships that help with, think tanks and accountability and mentorship, because I really do believe that we need a lot of mentors. There's not a lot of people doing what we're doing because the paradigm shift has just happened. So there's not a lot of people in the world that have built huge, successful businesses in alignment. And that's the difference. So we are finding people that are doing it in alignment. And when they reach, usually about 500,000, we get them to mentor back to people that are creating businesses now. And it's really a professional organization. It's not a networking group, although you will network and meet a lot of people doing this. And it's global. We represent about 21 countries in the world right now, with people that are just changing the way we do business, and a global entrepreneurship in alignment with who we are, and acknowledging that we are still professionals. We are just a different type of professional. We call ourselves soul professionals.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Where can people see you? Where can people hang out with you? Where do you hang out on social media?
Yeah, so we have our own Facebook group called the Global Collaborative. The best way to do it is to go to our website, and you can join us for free networking, free master classes. We have a lot of free stuff for the community, because our mission is really to build all businesses, whether you invest in us or not. We want to make sure that you have the resources and you're meeting other people in the world. So just going to our website will get people all the way around where they need to do. We do have a free website. We have Instagram. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. There's all sorts of places. We're on all the social, and TikTok. I'm on TikTok as well. So all the places.
Yes. And why do you do what you do?
Actually, it was because I couldn't find it in the world. So I ended up creating it because I needed it, right? My background was not-for-profit management. And when I was looking for a business group, I felt everything I found was in a lot of that masculine energy. It was like, what did I provide for them? It was aggressive. It was not the way I wanted to do business. And when I went to holistic groups, I found that they were way too woo-woo and not grounded in business at all. And I wanted to be recognized as a professional in what I did. And the way I did business was different, and I was proud of it. So I created an organization where we could all come together and build these businesses that really impact the world.
Yeah.
We have to build wealth. Mm-hmm. We can't play small anymore. We have to build wealth to impact the world. That's just the way it is. So, and now we can do it globally with all of these people, which has been an amazing, amazing journey to hear what people are doing all over the world, and being able to travel and see them all too. It's amazing.
That's beautiful. Well, I love what you do. It's absolutely beautiful. And I do so understand what you're talking about as far as, you're in a sect on its own, because there's those more masculine and there are those more woo-woo, and it's a beautiful synergy between the two. Absolutely brilliant. And, something that so many women entrepreneurs are looking for, is that alignment between the two, and really recognizing that you do need the feminine and the masculine in order to be truly successful in business long term. Well, I so appreciate you being here, hanging out with us. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
I just want to thank you for highlighting all these beautiful women and everything that you do in the world. It's, it's important that we all stick together, mm-hmm. and we fix each other's crowns.
Yes.
Yeah.
100 on that. Finger snap to that one. Yes. Thank you so much, Camille. I appreciate it. For those of you watching live, for those of you watching on the replay, if you resonate with Camille and all the goodness that she shared today, make sure you check her out at soulprofessional.com. It is in a clickable link in the description wherever you're watching us at. And of course, follow her on social media in all the areas so you can get an inside look on all of the things. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure we all continue to rise. Thank you so much for joining us here, Camille, and all of you watching live and on the replay. We so appreciate it. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and love content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. You can find us at hernation.life. I am so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others.